In the heart of Texas, the Trojans and the Crimson Tide. Hurts shows the arm, throws it into the end zone for a touchdown. Deflection, intercepted. Humphrey. Unbelievably dramatic turnaround. And the beatdown is on.
Harris gets out of that trouble, puts himself in some more. Picked off by Dakota Dixon. Number 5 goes down. Ward to throw.
He's got McCloskey, and he's got a touchdown. They knock off Oklahoma 33-23.
Notre Dame and Texas. Here we go. Kaiser downfield, and what an athletic play into the end zone by EQ.
They've played well enough to win, but they've got to figure it out right here.
What a run by Deontay Foreman. Who's up for overtime?
Swoops with it, turns, and shakes off one tackle. Still on his feet. Pulled over 99. Touchdown. Texas wins. And the Longhorns have beaten 10th-ranked Notre Dame.
It's back, and it was a wild opening weekend in college football. 2 of the top 5 teams took L's as Houston upset number 3 Oklahoma and unranked Wisconsin, edging out number 5 LSU. Number 1 Bama beat the brakes off of USC 52-6. And last night we saw a double OT thriller where Texas upset Notre Dame in dramatic fashion. It was a rough week overall for the top 10 teams. Listen to this. 3 of them have a 1 in the loss column already. Number 4 Florida State still has to play number 11 Ole Miss. That one tonight on ESPN at 8 p.m. And after tonight, week 1 will have featured the most losses by ranked teams in college football history. No bueno, Stephen A. What was the biggest surprise from the weekend in college football by your estimation?
Well, for me, it was Houston smacking up Oklahoma because I watched that entire game. I saw bits and pieces of other games, but obviously I watched the entire Alabama Roll Tide. I wasn't surprised by that. But I watched Houston beat up Oklahoma, and Oklahoma got beat up. I mean, it's one of those situations where you're looking at Stoops right now and wondering what the hell is going on. You would like to say that Oklahoma Sooners seemed ill-prepared, but that wasn't it at all. Houston showed up. Oklahoma was in a little bit of control earlier in terms of their physicality, but then Houston just stepped it up and started, just getting in their face. They were harassing Baker Mayfield all afternoon long. They made his life a living hell. The offensive line seemed ill-equipped to protect him. Obviously, that special teams play for more than 100 yards was exceptional. But Ward, this kid Ward Jr. was special as well. I'm looking at Shane Dunbar. He was special with 77 receptions for 125 yards. Isaiah Johnson had a big-time 44-yard catch. I'm looking at Catalan, who averaged 4 yards a carry. Overall, what stood out to me, however, was Houston's defense and how they disrupted Oklahoma's offense. That's what stood out to me as the biggest surprise. And then I look at Texas. It's not the fact that they gave up 47 because I'm not that enthralled with their defense. But offensively, this kid, Shane Buechele, I mean, I give a lot of credit where credit is due to Coach Charlie Strong. When you've got Swoops, who was once a quarterback, he's a senior in there. He's helping to bring the freshmen along, not to mention he runs for a winning touchdown. And then you look at Jared Hurd, who had a big-time 68-yard catch, and he was a quarterback last year. What you're seeing is interchangeable parts at Texas, guys who used to play a position, giving way to somebody else who might be better, changing a position, seemingly willing to do what's in the best interest of the team. And that speaks to the culture that Charlie Strong is building there. When we talked about Charlie Strong in the past, we lamented some of the changes that he was making, throwing guys off the team, like 9 different dudes ended up being pushed off the team or leaving or what have you. You kind of wondered what was going on with the culture there. But now you're seeing these guys together, very enthusiastic about playing in front of 102,000 last night, and seeing guys that, again, played one position, giving way to somebody that might be better, and willing to show that level of team chemistry that lends itself towards success. So I would say Houston and Texas ended up being very, very pleasant surprises for me. Oklahoma, huge disappointment. That was what entered my mind from a surprise perspective more than anything else.
I'll say, I just got to say before I even answer the question, what a game last night. I mean, what a win by Texas, because when number 77, Vahey, I think you pronounce his name, Patrick Vahey, gets called on that chop block and then they start losing ground, you just felt like, okay, they don't know how to win yet, that terrible sports cliche. Here comes Notre Dame. And that, as someone pointed out on Twitter last night to me as I tweeted about the game, the fact that Vahey's then the guy with the block that springs the touchdown that wins the game in overtime, Swoops, that's a great redemption story. So it's going to be tough to beat that game all year long. But I'd say the biggest surprise surprise is actually USC. Look, we all know Alabama's great every year. Stephen A., you picked them against the field on Friday, but you also said, they had a tough game coming up against the Trojans. And Nick Saban, after the game's talking about he's not pleased with the performance. You just beat, as Marley said, you just beat the brakes off of SC, a ranked team. SC is a surprise to me because they are not making progress. Every year, it seems, they have a top recruiting class. This year, it was 11th in the nation. Last year, it was 3rd. In 2012, the AP had them #1 ranked in the preseason, and they don't seem to make any progress. This is the storied franchise on the West Coast, certainly. UCLA is now pushing them. And SC is not only not making gains, they're losing ground every year, it seems. Gone through 4 head coaches now in the last, 5.5 years? It's just a mess out there, and every year you see that recruiting class. They have a new head coach almost every year, it seems. Now a new AD, and you think, okay, here it comes. They got their scholarships back. The sanctions in terms of the bowl games are over. Here it comes, and the only thing that came over the weekend was Alabama putting a whooping on them. I mean, we all know the SEC, the defense, and Alabama especially, and how fast and big and everything. But it's not even the same college football level. It looks like a pro team playing against kids. And especially for people out in L.A., and I was just there for 5+ years, this has got to be tough to swallow.
Well, of course, it's tough because you're in Southern California living in that sunshine. You didn't expect to get trolloped and embarrassed the way that you did. All of a sudden, the day seems quite rainy. It's very, very embarrassing in Southern California this afternoon, but they'll get over it. They went up against Roll Tide, baby. Everybody ain't Roll Tide. You don't need to expect this to happen in the future.
One last thing about Alabama. It's not fit. You give Nick Saban an actual quarterback and Jalen Hurts, that looks like an actual quarterback. That's not even fair. It's not. I still take the field against Alabama, but it's like, you got to be kidding me.
But you don't mean it. You don't mean that you're going to take the field. Because, again, like you just said, you just talked about Jalen Hurts. So you really, you just talking, Max. You don't really mean it. You don't mean it. You know good and well that you need to roll with Alabama. You know you don't need to take the field. Just admit it right here on national television. You go ahead. I'll give you permission. Go ahead. Go ahead. Admit it. Come over with the Tide.
Hey,
come
on.
With the Tide.
Let's see how FSU.
Come with the Tide.
Let's see how FSU looks against Ole Miss tonight. FSU looks good.
Roll with the Tide.
I got to admit, man,
That'll be a
I'm
good
tempted,
one.
but I'm not doing it. No, field over Alabama.
Come on over.
Look, guys, SC looking like the boys of Troy against Bama. Hopefully they will look like the men of Troy this weekend when they face Utah State. Focus on the Cowboys now. Jerry Jones and the Cowboys making some big moves at quarterback this weekend. Again, in the headlines. The team was in need of a quarterback after Tony Romo suffered a compression fracture in his back. That on August 25th against the Seahawks. Sources say he'll be out 6 to 10 weeks. Luckily for them, the Broncos cut Mark Sanchez on Saturday, allowing Dallas to sign him. To make room for Sanchez, the Cowboys waived quarterback Jameel Showers. Rookie Dak Prescott is still expected to be the starter in Romo's absence. Max, start with you. Does signing Mark Sanchez make sense for Dallas?
Perfect sense. This makes perfect sense for Dallas. First of all, Jerry Jones ideally would like to put the best football team on the field that can also put the meat in the seats. That's also interesting. Mark Sanchez, in this regard, fills the capacity. What are you laughing at, Stephen A? Mark Sanchez, when last seen,
Go ahead.
See, you just downplayed the preseason, right? So now you want to play up the preseason, or do you want to play up the last time Mark Sanchez played most of a season, which was 9 games for the Eagles 2 years ago, had a QBR of 59. Now, we're not talking about a star starting quarterback in Mark Sanchez, obviously, although he has that kind of level of fame and notoriety around the league. But as a backup, you're talking about as a veteran backup to Dak Prescott? You're going to do better than Mark Sanchez at this moment, who you don't have to give up anything for. You just sign him for the money, no draft picks, no nonsense. Who's better than Mark Sanchez out there that you're going to pick up, and who has the kind of not just QBR, but Q rating that will make Jerry Jones happy? He's perfect.
Well, first of all, keep your rhetorical questions to a minimum on this show, Max Kellerman, because I got answers for you. I don't want you just asking a question. How about Geno Smith? Yes, better than Mark Sanchez as far as I'm concerned, simply because Mark Sanchez has a history of ineptitude. Listen, that's right, I said it. Because Mark Sanchez has a history of ineptitude, the jury is still out on Geno, not outside of New York, not in New York. I know New York is done with him. We're done with him.
They're filing in that jury. It's not looking good, Stephen A.
Listen, I wouldn't have a problem. I mean, I pondered the thought. I wouldn't have a problem if the Dallas Cowboys went out and got Christian Ponder. But let me say this. Let me say this because this is hilarious. The last 4 years Mark Sanchez played in New York City, he was more famous for his hairdo and who he dated than his game. Then he leaves, he departs, he goes to Philadelphia. He shows up for a few games right up until the moment you believe in him, and then he stinks up the joint, okay? Then he comes to Denver this year. After Philadelphia is just done with him, he comes to Denver this year. And he loses out to a Trevor Siemian, who was drafted in the 7th round in 2015, didn't throw an NFL pass last year. So essentially, he's a rookie, a novice, breath smeller like Similac, wet behind the ears. And somehow he found a way to beat Mark Sanchez. And you're telling me Mr. Butt Fumble himself, okay, who ran into a whole bunch of beef, pork, or whatever you want to call it, when his face got planted in a backside of a defender on a Thanksgiving night a few years back, and you're telling me that dude, Mark Sanchez, is a good fit for the Dallas Cowboys? Let me tell you something right now.
Yeah.
Here's what's a good fit for the Dallas Cowboys. Here's what makes it hilarious. Once again, they got somebody that's going to provide a headline. They've got somebody that you're going to laugh at. They got somebody that you're going to scratch your head like you got dandruff over. They've got somebody that you're going to look at and say, hey, you know what? I can't believe they've done it again. These are the Dallas Cowboys. Just when you think they are done being the accident waiting to happen, just when you think that enough's enough, the weed and people getting in trouble and Tony Romo hurting his back because he doesn't know how to slide. And then on top of it all, we ain't even getting that Randy Gregory. He won his appeal and his suspension is going to be reduced. Let's have a celebration. Everybody forgetting the fact that why he was celebrated, why he was suspended to begin with. Forget all of that other stuff. Forget the dudes robbing the department store of drawers and some cologne. Forget all that. And the list goes on and on. These, you know what? I'm going to take it back. I'm going to announce it on national television, y'all. I'm going to make some news today. You know what? Maybe I am a Dallas Cowboy fan because they make me laugh. They just, I cannot believe the things that they do to make me feel so good about watching football. The Dallas Cowboys are an accident waiting to happen. They're a joke of a franchise as far as I'm concerned, and they bring this on themselves. All the talent that they have, they continuously get in their way just to steal headlines, and this is the latest example. Thank you, Cowboys. Mwah, mwah. How about them Cowboys? They just never let you down. Just never let you down.
Well, I can definitely co-sign that sentiment as a Giants fan, Stephen A. But when you talk about Mark Sanchez, let's take this back to Mark Sanchez, which is the original point. Was that a smart move? Is that the right fit? Yes, it is. Why did he lose out to Trevor Siemian? Because if you're the Broncos,
he's not good enough.
And you're gonna owe Mark Sanchez $4.5 million you can get out of paying while you develop a younger guy you just drafted, younger, cheaper, better for the future, and not appreciably different. If you watch any preseason, it's not like Siemian looked a lot better than Sanchez. It's just that Sanchez didn't separate himself from the others. And since he was more expensive, they made a business decision.
Stop right there.
Here the Cowboys get to scoop up.
Time out. Max Kellerman. I'm sorry. When did Mark Sanchez get drafted? Was it 2009? So a guy that's been in the NFL since 2009 goes to Denver, talks about how he's hell-bent on capturing the starting job for the Denver Broncos, the reigning defending Super Bowl champions, and loses out to a dude that has never thrown an NFL pass in his career? And you're telling me, well, you know, what's the shame in that? I mean, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, he really didn't get outplayed. Excuse me, this dude didn't have a business being in the same stratosphere. He didn't have any business being in the same stratosphere as Mark Sanchez.
I'm not making the claim that Mark Sanchez is a starter. But if you're looking for a veteran backup like a couple days before the season starts, go do better than Mark Sanchez. And you don't have to give up anything but the money, and it's not that much money. This makes sense. And in terms of wanting the headlines, he does that too. That's just bonus in this case.
So Mark Sanchez, congratulations. You're a backup to a rookie who hasn't thrown a regular NBA, NFL season pass. Congratulations. So you lost out to a 7th-round pick in 2015 who never threw a pass last year. And you're coming to be a backup to a rookie that has never thrown an NFL regular season pass. Mark Sanchez, congratulations. Congratulations.
Guys,
we're so touched. We're so touched.
We got to go to break here. So cheery on this holiday. Sanchez has committed more turnovers per snap than any active quarterback, but he is 4-2 in 6 career playoff games.